Welcome to Glowing Success. I'm Heidi, your host. On this show, we dig into aesthetics, marketing, business strategy, wellness, and iridology. Whether I'm flying solo or sitting down with some incredible guests, this is your space to learn, grow, and build something beautiful. So let's get into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. I want to ask you a serious question. Have you ever sat in your car in the parking lot before opening your business or going into work? And it's not necessarily because you're nervous, but it's because some small part of you was hoping today would be the day you finally admitted it wasn't working. It's not working, right? If you've ever felt that, I need you to hear this episode because I've been there, and almost every business owner I sit with eventually gets there too, or has been there. Okay. So feeling like giving up doesn't mean you're failing. I just want to put that out there right now. It usually means you're carrying something alone, mind you, that was honestly never meant to be carried alone, right? And more often than not, once you actually talk it through with someone, you don't quit and you get really clear on what to do next. But sometimes that clarity is, let's say, keep going, but here's how. And sometimes this isn't it anymore. I've had those conversations too with people where they're like, I want to go in a different direction. And that's okay too. But either way, you walk away knowing your next step instead of just spinning in fear, essentially, right? And I really want to be honest with you about something too. There have been seasons in my own business where I sat with that same exact feeling. And I really remind myself it's not a bad day. It's honestly sometimes just a bad stretch of things, right? It's usually the kind of things where you start to wonder if you're the problem or if the industry is the problem or a whole bunch of things. Or maybe you've missed your window on something, right? You start to ponder so many different things. And honestly, what got me through it wasn't necessarily a new marketing tactic necessarily. And that's what a lot of people think. And it honestly wasn't a rebrand or a fancy website or something that you'd think that would kind of fix those emotions. It was honestly talking through it out loud with my own business coach. Because that business coach is someone that can see my business from the outside. And it's honestly really refreshing because I can only see my business from the inside. We're only experiencing it, right? And honestly, that's the thing about being a business owner. Nobody even talks about this, but you're the only one that has to come up with all these answers. And you're the only one that has to go through all these things. And sometimes it feels like you have to do it alone until you start to find some other business owners around you, right? But when you're the only one stuck in making those decisions, you have to call somebody, you have to tell somebody. And honestly, a lot of times it can't really necessarily be the people closest to you because they're not really looking at it from a business perspective sometimes, right? So, you sit with it, you muster around on it, and then honestly, the longer you sit with those things, it gets heavy. It gets really heavy. And I've sat across from so many business owners in that same exact spot. Right? So different industries, sometimes I've worked with a lot of beauty professionals, but sometimes they're not beauty professionals, different stages in their business, even some people are only a couple years into this business. Some people are 10 years into their business. But honestly, the one thing that they share is they have that same feeling underneath it, right? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know who I want to ask for help. What the heck? Should I close my doors? And almost every time when I have these sessions with people, honestly, it's like I said earlier, it's not that I gave them some kind of magic, marketing strategy that they never thought of. It's honestly saying it out loud sometimes, saying it that, they do have these feelings, right? And they're saying it to somebody that's not going to panic. I don't have any, personal thing with them. I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to take anything personally. And honestly, that realness and being able to say it out loud, it changes a lot of things for people. You know what I mean? Because it goes from you feel like everything's falling apart, and you can actually name it, right? You actually can name what you're feeling. You can actually name the problem sometimes. And sometimes it's just about talking through it, and working through what's not working anymore. What's feeling heavy? What do you avoid? What's not bringing you joy? What does bring you joy? Like all the different questions that I ask. And by the end, a lot of people have their spark back. And it's not necessarily because their problems disappeared, right? We're not making those problems disappear in that session necessarily. But it's because, they're not facing them alone. And also, a lot of times they do get a little bit of more of a direction and more of like a clear path on what to do next. So here's what I want to say very gently to you, because I think it matters more than you got this, or like some kind of pep talk that I could do, and sometimes the clarity that people need isn't the keep pushing kind of thing, because I do think that can be a little bit, weird. Sometimes after we really look at it together, the honest conclusion is that this business or this version of it isn't the thing anymore, right? Sometimes people do have to change completely. So sometimes, that's just not it anymore. And honestly, I want to tell you, and I feel like this in myself, that is not a failure. That is not giving up. That is finally having enough clarity to make a real decision instead of like, I don't know, being stressed out every day and white knuckling your business, so to speak, right? And that's all out of fear generally. But, a lot of solo business owners, we are kind of forced to give up in the dark or give up alone. And honestly, a lot of it's out of exhaustion. And it does feel like defeat, right? It feels like failure. But I want to say this, choosing your next step with clarity, even if it's a hard step, even if it's closing that is going to feel like relief, right? So I think that's something that we need to think about is, it's something that you can sit with, that you're like, okay, that is going to feel so good. And honestly, if you're in that place right now and you're listening and you're like, holy buckets, like you're talking right to me. And you're quietly wondering if you should walk away, or feeling like you're the only one who's ever felt lost like this in your own business. I want you to hear me. You are not the only one, okay? I have felt it. I've sat with business owners who felt it. And yeah. And honestly, after our sessions together, almost every single one of the people I've worked with tells me the same thing afterwards. They honestly just needed to know what to do next. Not a miracle, not a whole life overhaul, just the next step and someone to help them see it. So sometimes that clarity is all we really need, right? And I just always want to give a hug to small business owners and just say, we don't have to all figure it out alone. I don't think we're ever supposed to be. That's why, communities are here, and that's why we all help each other. But if this episode is, hitting close to your heart or hitting close to home, that's your sign. Book a session with me. I will put the link in the show notes. And so all you have to do is click on it, and let's find your next step together, whatever that ends up looking like for you. And also, if you know another business owner who's been, maybe quiet for a while, or that they're going through a hard season, send them this episode as well. Sometimes the thing that pulls someone out of that spiral is just hearing like, hey, you're not alone, or other business owners go through this too. So, all right. Well, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.